Right, welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be looking at Cristiano Ronaldo and his failed exit from Manchester United. But there's a couple of things first I want to say about Ronaldo. Firstly, this guy is one of the best players that's ever played the game of football. He's the all-time Champions League goal scoring record. He's the all-time international goal scoring record. He's nearly 700 goals in club football, five Ballon d'Ors. By any conceivable metric, this guy is one of the best football players to ever put on a pair of boots. His only crime is that he's not Leo Messi. That's the only thing that can be held against him. In my opinion, he's the second greatest player of all time. I've watched him when I was growing up. It was Henri, Ronaldinho, Zidane. I never watched Pele and Maradona. I've only seen YouTube clips. But I've witnessed the Messi era. I've witnessed the Ronaldo era. I have Messi slightly in front, but Ronaldo is second by any conceivable metric. But really great success earlier on at Manchester United. A lot of his what I'd be predominantly remembered for was his time at Real Madrid, multiple Champions Leagues and some just ridiculous seasons. There's in total goals seasons there where he's putting up over 50 goals, 60 goals even a season. It's just outrageous. But he's at a different stage of his career now. At this stage that he's at now, Ronaldo was 37. He had a short stint at Juventus for 3 seasons, and albeit in each of those seasons, I think he scored 29 goals one season, over 30 goals in another season, and won two Serie A titles. But he was looking for something else. Couldn't win the Champions League with them, and from there he was shopped around by his agent Jorge Mendes last season. At one stage, it looked like he was going to go to Manchester City. I personally, even though they were looking in the Kane market, I personally don't believe the way Pep plays, the kind of control he has over that team. Everything is done to an exact science on his watch. I don't know if Ronaldo is going to be a natural fit in that team. There's also an argument to say they have enough talent around the centre forward position that he could have scored goals regardless. But this is probably it with Ronaldo, is that he did score goals regardless. But when we look at him, it was a last minute intervention by Manchester United. And you got to remember, this is at a time where coming off the back end of the season before, United had a game against Liverpool called off due to a fans protest. So what do they do that summer? They go out and get Jadon Sancho. They go out and get Rafael Varane. And instead of a midfielder, they go out and get Cristiano Ronaldo and make him the highest paid player in the league at 37 years old. Now, this is at a time when they've Anthony Martial, Marcus Rashford, they bring Sancho in, they'd Mason Greenwood before obviously that situation unfortunately developed how it did. And Jesse Lingard coming off the best season at West Ham. So they bring Ronaldo back into the starting fold. Obviously, he's the centerpiece, he's the focal point, not only of the actual team on the pitch, but the entire club. The club basically becomes Ronaldo FC as a result and a process. But when you look at Ronaldo at this stage of his career, what do you get? So you do get goals. Now, granted, some of the goals he scored last season were spectacular. I'm thinking of the Atalanta goal he got in the last minute. I'm thinking of the volley he got at the Tottenham Stadium away from home. Thinking of even the run that he got against Newcastle United in the opening game he played at Old Trafford. He did score some good goals, but realistically, at this stage of his career, the Newcastle goal is actually a good example. Ronaldo doesn't run off the ball. There's no pressing. He's not going to press, as I think we heard Roy Keane say last season. He hasn't pressed at any stage during his career, much less at 37. So he's not going to move off the ball. Even when United are on the ball, he's not really someone that's going to be dynamic until that point where a ball's played through, and like we've seen the Newcastle goal, he can still get up to top speed and he can still finish. There's not a question about his finishing. But in terms of the fluidity of the attack, he's not going to be linking up. He's not going to be dropping in short. He's not going to do a lot of things that you would expect maybe a number nine in his mid 20s to do. Ronaldo is, as I'd heard Miguel Delaney describe it, is almost like he's like a catapult gun that you've kind of the wheel in position to score goals. That's kind of where he is at the stage of his career. He can still score goals. You just have to get him the service. You have to get him the ball in the right places. And that extends to a lot to general football. That extends to anyone playing up front. But it's more so with a guy that almost conserves his energy for certain sprints at certain moments. So while he did score 18 goals last year, United's attack their fluidity attack, how they linked up, how they interlinked, suffered as a result. Now you can say Bruno Fernandes had an off season, Marcus Rashford definitely had an off season. There's a couple, and not much less the entire defense took the season off. So there's a couple of factors there, but ultimately, the guy he scored 18 goals, but United scored 16 goals less the season before. Whatever you want to say about Harry Maguire and Luke Shaw and Aaron Wan-Bissaka, and defense isn't up to it. United were a less fluid team going forward. 16 goals difference is not a small number. So while he scores and he gets his goals, the team doesn't really go anywhere as a result. And this is kind of what we've seen now when he's agitated for a move away. So obviously, what's interesting about this particular situation is what exactly is Ronaldo motivated by at this stage? As I said, he has the Champions League goal scoring record, but we also have two of the best prospects in world football at the moment, Erling Haaland and Kylian Mbappe. I think Haaland's going to be turning 21, Mbappe's 22. Mbappe's played the Champions League every season of his career so far. Maybe Ronaldo wants to get to a stage where his Champions League record is unassailable. It is you cannot catch it, and to him maybe that is important at this stage. I mean, he has won kind of every trophy individually and team wise that there is to win, with the exception obviously of the World Cup. But with that said, if he's looking to increase his European, the Champions League goal scoring record, he's going to have to go to a club that's going to contend into the latter stages of the Champions League. Now, when we look at who those clubs are, we'll start in the Premier League. So if we look at and we go, United finished sixth last season. If we start at fifth, it's not Arsenal. They've just bought Gabriel Jesus. It's not going to be Spurs with Harry Kane. Chelsea were one of the teams that you would have possibly considered, but you've got to understand Chelsea. Well, they won. First of all, they won the Champions League the season before with Kai Havertz as a false number 9. And secondly, they've lost Antonio Rudiger, they've lost Andreas Christensen, and it probably looks like they're going to lose Cesar David Azpilicueta. So as a result, they brought in Kalidou Koulibaly, but they've also been linked with Nathan Ake and Presnel Kimpembe, with Tuchel coming out today and saying, well, Ronaldo was a great player, and this is the general platitude because if you hear any pundit, any coach that talks about Ronaldo, they're going to say what great and what amazing player he is, etc., etc. I mean, it was overdrive last year on Sky Sports, but it, ultimately they've other players that they're going to sign. They've more pressing needs, which is ultimately how United should have viewed it. But ultimately they brought in a guy, they paid him $500,000 a week, and he broke the jersey sales record. You're talking about the Glazers, who aren't exactly pounding tables with a lack of on-field success. As long as the gravy train keeps rolling, they're quite happy. Case in point, how Ed Woodward was in a job for so long. But you go beyond Chelsea, he's obviously not going to Liverpool. And Manchester City had that chance the season before, and instead, obviously, this season they brought in Haaland, so he's not going there. We go across the continent to Spain. He's not going back to Real Madrid, Dave Curry and Benzema. You'd assume he's not going to Atletico and Barcelona out of the run at Real Madrid. But even if would either of those two teams go from? I mean, Barcelona have Aubameyang, Atletico Madrid still have Antoine Griezmann, Yao Felix. Do they want to bring in Ronaldo on top of that? Especially one of the considerations is the wages. I mean, obviously he's $500,000 a week, but we'll just put the wages beside for one point. If we just look at it a pure footballing perspective, then from there you go on to Germany. Bayern Munich, the only team that could realistically have him. They've just brought Sadio Mane in, they've Leroy Sané and Gnabry on the wings. They still have Robert Lewandowski. Even if he goes to Barca or he stays, Oliver Kahn, their director, said that while he's a great player, etc., they're not going to go from him. So that rules Germany out. PSG have said they're not going to go from him. I mean, Mbappe didn't have one of the big power struggles and contract power struggles where he's been given pretty much complete authority at PSG. And while they always have Messi and Neymar, they're looking to offload Neymar. So he's hardly going to want to bring in Cristiano Ronaldo from there. And besides, the club have distanced themselves from it anyway. Inter Milan and AC Milan, from what we understand, probably wouldn't have the finances. And he's just come from Juventus. Roma and Lazio, you couldn't imagine have the finances either for him. So it's at a stage now where this guy has basically pulled the move that a disgruntled employee at any kind of job does, where you take 2 weeks off, which what he's kind of done by not going on United's preseason tour for family reasons, he's done what any kind of employee is done, where you take time off work, you start interviewing for other jobs, and if you can't get a job in the 2 weeks, and there's kind of inklings that you're not happy at work, the other staff members are going to be able to tell. They're going to cop that you might be starting to look elsewhere. Now that process has begun, and you can't land the job in that time. It becomes a little bit awkward at the workplace from there, because like everyone has the sense that you want to go. You know yourself you want to go, but where are you going to go? What job do you have lined up? Where are you interviewing? Where are you looking to interview? Ronaldo, obviously, given what I said at the start of this video, with the resume he has, the 5 Ballon d'Ors, the all-time international Champions League goals winner, and the type of ego this man has, he obviously thinks, I'm Cristiano Ronaldo. I can play anywhere in the world for any team in the world and demand the type of wages that I demand. But even if he's the half his wages, just from a footballing perspective, it doesn't, half these teams, over half, if not all these teams, already have situations lined up that don't involve Cristiano Ronaldo. So then from there, it's like, I mean, look, if you dramatically go down and this guy's on 500,000 a week and he reduces his wages to, like, say, £50,000 per week, maybe you get like an Ajax, you get a Dortmund, you get these type of clubs that might consider him. Champions League clubs, if his sole goal is to play for a club where he can extend his Champions League record. But if not, he's linked with Saudi Arabia today, and the numbers are absolutely absurd. It's like 250 million euro for 2 seasons, to go play in an unnamed club in a league that no one notices. And if you're Cristiano Ronaldo, you're in a rarefied territory, probably with LeBron James and Tiger Woods. And it's the same thing with Tiger on the Live Golf Tour. He doesn't need the Live Golf Tour. Tiger Woods doesn't need money. He's obviously incentivized by PGA Tour wins and major wins. It's not going to, the Live Golf bank balance isn't going to really entice Tiger Woods, and I don't think the Saudi Arabian football team is going to entice Cristiano Ronaldo. So now he has to come back to Old Trafford after everyone knows, and furthermore, the guy's in the gym today, like showing off his ripped physique. Like, okay, so it's just like your rest of your teammates are off in preseason too, or you're not there. And it's going to become a weird dynamic. I mean, if it wasn't a weird dynamic last year with the whole team kind of getting upended to accommodate Ronaldo FC, it's going to be a weird dynamic this year if he goes back and everyone kind of has the inkling that he already knows he wants to go. But there's no suitors to take him. It's a fascinating situation, and I can't see it getting resolved. I can't see him getting the move that he wants to play for a club that's going to contend in the Champions League, because he's just not there. He's kind of been shopped around to all these clubs just as he was last season, and the market's not there for him. Wages aside, so how it's going to play out will be fascinating. I anticipate he's going to stay up. He will be a United player by the start of the season. He will be a United player by the end of the transfer window. And he probably will score goals for United again this season. He probably will score somewhere between 15 and 20 goals. But football is not as complicated as, or is simplified rather, as centre backs kicking the ball into Rose Ed and footballers and strikers just scoring goals. There's more nuance to it at the very, very top level. Um, and as we seen with United last year, even though he scored 18 goals, there's a stretch there for like 10 games where he didn't score at all. And if he's not scoring, all the other stuff that he doesn't do, he doesn't press, he doesn't run, he doesn't drop short, he doesn't link in like you'd hope like a dynamic number nine would. If he's not scoring goals, it's hard to justify his presence on the pitch. So, and finally on this, this would have also been a great chance for United, for Ten Hag. I can't imagine Ten Hag saying that he wants to play a pressing style of football and Ronaldo being at the top of his plans, or and the top of the wage bill. This would have been a great chance for United to get out from under that as well, but it's obviously doesn't look like it's going to materialize. So it is one of the strangest situations we've had, because you've got one of the Graham's great all-time players, and usually in this situation they go out to MLS or they go to China. He's obviously not ready for that, not personally, but professionally. While he'll stay at United, we could be seeing the end of the Cristiano Ronaldo era, as we've seen for what has been one of the greatest players in our lifetimes.